You ever see a woman in a flowered hat yank a wedding bouquet out of a child's hands, toss in the gutter, then scream at the top of her lungs about ghetto trash on her street, right in front of 60 guests? Yeah, that happened. And that's how this story began. Margaret Whitmore's spit still fresh on Devin Williams' shoes, the bride frozen in her ivory dress, the groom gripping his cufflinks so tight you'd think he could bend platinum with his bare hands. Maple Ridge Drivia, a place where you're supposed to mow your lawn in straight lines, smile at the mailman, and never, ever let your business spill onto the street, was suddenly center stage for the kind of drama you only see on viral videos. Except nobody expected the twist coming. Margaret's rage kicked over the champagne table, glass sparkling everywhere, while 60 guests and a bunch of kids stood in silent horror, trying to process how an afternoon meant for love turned into a circus. She jabbed at her phone. I need police at 847 Maple Ridge, now a legal gathering. Loud music, probably drugs, and a whole lot of people who don't belong. You could practically hear the 911 dispatcher roll their eyes as Margaret live-streamed her meltdown, pumping fear in her followers. This is why we moved here, to get away from this. Meanwhile, 16-year-old Destiny, the bride's niece, quietly went live on Instagram behind the dessert table. Y'all need to see this Karen lose her mind at my aunt's wedding. And the viewership ticked up like popcorn, faster than Margaret could dial back up. The crazy thing? It was all documented during cameras, cell phones, neighborhood apps, 3 different live streams battling for the best angle. While Margaret whipped the crowd with words like property values and community standards, little Marcus tugged Devin's jacket, asking why the angry lady hated their family. And Devin, on one knee, tried to explain what makes a real community, only to be interrupted by Margaret screeching about victim mentality. The comment sections on Instagram and TikTok went nuclear. By the time police dispatch radioed ETA 12 minutes, the whole block was watching the slow-motion car crash. Then the backup arrived, not just cops, but the HOA enforcers. Mrs. Patterson with a folder of violations, Mr. Koslov measuring decibels with an app, and neighbors drifting over, some supporting, some filming, a few just curious if they'd finally see something worth posting about. Margaret called her husband Harold. He's a lawyer. We'll shut this down for good. At that, Devin's grandmother, Evelyn, rolled up city council pin on her dress. I've lived here 40 years, young lady. This isn't what neighborly means. Margaret ignored her, too fired up to care about history or the wisdom of old women. Police cars pulled up, right on schedule. Officers Martinez and Rodriguez scanned the party white linens, a string quartet, nothing but the clink of crystal and some nervous laughter. Margaret went at them hard, thrusting her phone into their faces. This is a circus, an invasion. It's illegal. Martinez looked puzzled. Rodriguez measured the scene, and both started checking permits and decibel levels, professional as ever. Devin produced his thick folder. Everything documented: permits, insurance, receipts, you name it. Margaret, not missing a beat, accused him of forging the paperwork, claimed nepotism at City Hall, waved her live stream for 300-plus viewers, oblivious to the fact that most were watching her spiral. And just when it seemed this mess might explode, the crowd shifted, the bride's hands trembling, the older relatives exhausted, kids hiding behind chairs. While the comments on Margaret's live, the racism is showing, hun, hit like slap after slap. But Margaret's supporters were crumbling. Even Mrs. Patterson began to retreat as the evidence piled up: noise levels legal, permits valid, event fully compliant. Rodriguez, his voice cool, said, "Ma'am, noise is within city limits, permits check out." Margaret's face burned with humiliation, but she doubled down, throwing around accusations of drugs and gangs, each wilder than the last. That's when the twist nobody expected happened. As news vans pulled up Channel 7, Channel 9, and every social platform alive with hashtags, Devin stepped forward, voice steady. There's a misunderstanding here. He took off his jacket, revealing a dress shirt with the city's seal, reached into his pocket, and handed Rodriguez his ID. The officer's face transformed back straight. Voice crisp: "Good afternoon, Your Honor." For a full second, Maple Ridge fell silent. The crowd gasped. Wait, what did he say? The mayor. She called the cops on the mayor. Suddenly, Margaret's live stream was a bonfire of schadenfreude, her phone vibrating off the charts. The crowd realizing they'd just witnessed her try to run the city's youngest mayor out of his own wedding. Devin, calm as ever, explained for everyone, "Ma'am, I'm Devin Williams, mayor of Willowbrook. We met several times. You thanked me for carrying your groceries last year." Every camera caught Margaret's face drain of blood as her entire narrative collapsed. Sarah Kim from Channel 7 grabbed her moment. "Mayor Williams, can you explain what's happening here?" Devin nodded, voice perfectly measured. "Just a neighborhood celebration, unfortunately interrupted by misunderstanding and, well, assumptions." News crews swarmed, neighbors whispered, and Margaret's landscaping business, primary contractor for city parks, began receiving a tidal wave of one-star reviews. The irony was brutal. Her career built on city contracts, her public persona destroyed by her own live-streamed meltdown. But the story didn't end there. As the facts rolled out, permits properly filed, all city fees paid, even a fire inspection with commendations for safety of police, now joined by their sergeant, confirmed every detail. The crowd of officers, neighbors, and reporters all watched as Devin pulled up the vendor code on a tablet. Municipal law, anti-discrimination pledges, contracts worth millions. "Miss Whitmore, city vendors must reflect our values. Your comments today have generated 847 complaints, 312 hotline calls, and a social media storm questioning our reputation." The wedding became a town hall, the crowd listening as Devin calmly laid out the consequences: contract review hearing, public testimony, possible termination for any vendor caught acting against the city's core values. Margaret, realizing her entire livelihood was at stake, pleaded for understanding. "This was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean it that way." Devin didn't gloat. He simply reminded her, partnership requires values, not apologies made after you get caught. This is about protecting everyone's dignity in Willowbrook. As her business partner called in a panic and her employees texted in fear, the mayor finished, "You'll have a chance to explain yourself Tuesday morning at City Council. Until then, consider legal counsel." Only then, after all, that did the wedding proceed. Devin took Zara's hands, the Reverend blessing them with a speech about love conquering hate, dignity beating discrimination, and the community watching through every window, every screen, every phone. Margaret, alone in her house, stared at her own face reflected in 1,000 viral clips. The news ran all night. Mayor's wedding disrupted by racist neighbor. City contracts under review. Viral video stuns nation. Margaret's business crashed, online websites down. Yelp frozen. Google reviews a wall of 1 stars. Tuesday's hearing became a citywide event, packed chambers, news crews everywhere. Margaret, now coached by lawyers, gave a shaky apology, admitting unconscious bias and catastrophically poor judgment. But it was the 23 community members who spoke that made the difference. Mrs. Sinclair, the quiet neighbor, now center stage, said, "I saw ugly words at a happy day, but people can change." The verdict was brutal, but fair: probation for 18 months, mandatory training, 100 hours of service at the community center, quarterly diversity reports. Willowbrook used the moment to launch a wave of new policies: verified ID on neighborhood apps, good neighbor programs, anti-discrimination clauses in every vendor contract. For Margaret, the process was humiliating, thin, slowly transformative. Her community service forced her to face the very family she'd once feared. Her staff now included hires from groups she'd never known, her perspective cracked open by the training sessions she'd resented. 1 year out, her company once shamed won a diversity award. Her employees praised as the best I ever had. The mayor's wedding, now legend, inspired a documentary and a citywide Unity Day barbecue where Margaret provided the landscaping, at first under watchful eyes, eventually as a genuine partner. 3 years on, Devin stood where Margaret once hurled that bouquet, holding a proclamation from the National Municipal League, Willowbrook, America's model inclusive community. The city's transformation was featured by Harvard, its policies replicated in 24 cities, And Margaret, hand steady, addressed the crowd, 3 years ago, I was the worst version of myself. Today, I know community means everyone belongs. The crowd clapped not for her mistake, but for the growth they'd watched day by day. Devon's approval soared. Zura's nonprofit expanded. The viral video that nearly destroyed a city ended up as proof that justice, done right, heals more than it punishes. Willowbrook's story became the gold standard, leaders across the country quoting the Williams wedding response as a blueprint for reconciliation and real, lasting change. So, let me ask you, have you ever seen prejudice backfire so completely it makes a better world? Have you witnessed a moment where quiet strength and systematic justice beat loud, destructive hate? Share your stories below. What would you have done in Devon's place? How can we all build more inclusive, resilient communities right where we live? If this story got you thinking, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Because the fight for dignity isn't just about one viral video or one bad day, it's about building something better, together, one hard conversation at a time. And that's the real story worth telling.